G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome to my day one recap and vlog of the 1 week hardcore race where I'm doing the Melee Smash Hardcore Man Mode Challenge. Solo, Southbound, other adjectives. It's all very exciting. But yeah, to be serious, I've had an awesome day of Path of Exile today. So when I woke up, I recorded my level 60 recap for my Pure Evasion Ranger, which is pretty exciting. A lot of you guys have already seen that video. And then I pretty much jumped straight into the race. So basically what's happening with the race for you guys that haven't been following is that there's this 1 week hardcore race on at the moment. Basically, over the course of the week, we're leveling fresh characters in a fresh league. It's just like the shorter races, but obviously over the course of a week you can play as much as you want, try and do as well as you can, and reach the top 500, try and score some points and things like that. However, there's a small subsection of the community led by, Kriparian and his Mumble crew, who came up with this idea, that are doing this solo man mode Smash sort of challenge. Smash is the name of it because everyone puts Smash in their name there, and there's even a website, POA Stats or something like that, which I'll link in the description below, the actual link to it, that's even tracking people that have this Smash in their name and comparing them against each other. And so there's like a separate ladder within this other league. So these people obviously aren't taking the overall race that seriously, because we're applying these arbitrary restrictions on ourselves, but arbitrary restrictions can often make games a lot more fun than they could otherwise be. So what's the basis of what we're doing is that you have to play solo, so you can't play in a party. You have to play melee, so you can only use damaging skills that use it through melee attacks, so you can't use things like shockwave totems, bows, spells, anything like that. You have to use melee skills. There's a list, there's an official forum thread for this challenge, which I'll also put in the description below, but there's a list of approved skills and things like that, and skills that aren't approved. That you can't self-found, so you can't do any trading whatsoever. That means no trade chat, no trading with your party and things like that. Now, I've been talking to some other people, who are like coming up with their own rule sets, but I think I might actually just stick to the 100% solo man mode for it, because I'm having a lot of fun so far, and it'd be interesting to see how I can push it. So the footage you're seeing in the background is just me leveling with the build that I'm using, which is an elemental Cleave Templar. Now, this build is very fun. I chose it because I knew it would be a fun build. I've played with it a little bit in the past, and I've done a lot of the theory work behind the build, and it's kind of exciting in the way it functions. So I'll cut to where I'm up to currently, which is taking on some of the bandits, and just explain the skills that I'm using and things like that, and I guess how my day one sort of went so far in terms of leveling. So before recording the Raycast Weekly, which is the other piece of news, I managed to get to Act 2 basically, and I've been getting some nice elemental weapons, some nice elemental damage rings and things like that. Like I just got this kick-ass 1-23 lightning damage weapon, which works really well, and I've got some other nice okay pieces of gear, some pretty average pieces of gear, but basically I'm using Cleave as my main attack. At the moment I'm using a single target of Dual Strike, however I probably won't even use that in the future, because as you can see, DPS on Dual Strike is 214.5, DPS on Cleave is higher. So although it costs more mana, it does a lot more damage. So Dual Strike will become redundant fairly quickly, and this will be a pretty much pure Cleave build. The other thing I'm using for survivability is my Decoy Totem, which isn't allowed skill because it doesn't do any damage or anything like that. And I'm just running my elemental auras. Now the reason that this build is interesting, what makes it interesting, is that Cleave, the skill, hopefully I can bring it up for you guys here to show you guys how it works. There we go. Damage effectiveness is 70%, however you get 40% reduced physical weapon damage while dual wielding. So I'm doing this dual wielding Templar. 40% reduced physical damage is a big hit to your actual DPS. However, this 40% reduced physical weapon damage does not apply to any elemental damage whatsoever. So that means the weapon elemental damage on your weapons, the elemental damage from your rings and gloves and everything else, and the elemental damage from your auras is all 100% effectiveness. Now, with a lot of the passives that the Templar has here, like we've got Catalyze, we've got Celestial Walker there, I think even there's a few other little elemental damage ones that I pick up, including Amplify, which does area of effect, damage, radius, and damage, which affects Cleave as well. Makes Cleave a pretty interesting skill. Basically, let's go have a look at the DPS here. 232. I take off this 1-23 lightning damage, and it drops all the way down to 150. So as you can see, even the smallest amount of elemental damage, 1 to 23 is a pretty good roll, but even if that was like 1 to 10, it would still add something like 50 DPS, because elemental damage scales crazily. So this is a pretty exciting build in terms of, you know, getting new gear, because you get this massive DPS jump whenever you do. So that's why I've chosen to play with it. However, it's not the best hardcore build, especially in late game, because it does so much elemental damage. You can easily do between 5 and 8k damage even with poor gear. And you're probably going to one-shot yourself against Elemental Reflect. So, not the best hardcore build. Possible, doable, but I chose it because it'd be fun, you know? We're doing this melee man mode challenge here. Our main goal is to have fun. So the third piece of news is that I just finished up recording the next raid class weekly. It's called the weekly, but not necessarily always weekly. You know, there was a 2-week gap between the last episode and this episode, just because we wanted to instead put together a really good show. So the weekly this week was we talked all about hardcore racing. So we talked about the 1-week race, race strategy in general, the new ladder system, the rewards, and everything like that. And the guests that we had, well, you know, as always, we had Ariok as one of the main pillars of the show. Essentially, he founded the show with me, and we, as our special guest this week, we had more Sexier, which a lot of you guys will know from Kriparian's stream and Mumble, but he's also a top-notch racer himself. He's actually #1 on the race leaderboard for the overall season now, so he's an excellent racer. And that podcast was really exciting because we got a lot of really cool discussion about the racing in general and about the new seasons and everything like that. So you guys can look forward to that pretty much around the time that this video goes up, if those videos aren't even up first before this one. But all very exciting. As I said, huge day of Path of Exile. I plan on, you know, continuing on with the 1-week race and giving you guys these daily recaps until the point where I die, or if I don't die, I'll go for the rest of the week, and maybe at the end, if I get to a sufficient level where things are pretty interesting with this Templar, I'll even give you guys a build guide. So lots to look forward to in terms of Path of Exile content this week. The other piece of news was that you guys should go back and check out my previous video, which I'll also link in the description below. Or maybe even an annotation. I'm giving away 2 copies of StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, thanks to some bro deals that I got from a Game Codes website that I use. Pretty cool stuff. 2 copies of Heart of the Swarm. All you have to do is comment on a Facebook post and I'll randomly draw it in a week's time. I'll probably keep reminding you guys throughout the week so that if you haven't entered, you can go ahead and enter in that for your chance to win some StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. And then at the end of the week, I'll probably even start covering StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm as well. So it's all very exciting, and yeah, I'm just having a ton of fun, and I'm pretty pumped about all this Path of Exile and StarCraft goodness that's coming up. Anyway, that's it for now. That's it for this recap. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.